Star Wars The Clone Wars is probably the most popular and most well-loved piece of Star Wars content we've gotten in the last decade, with fans getting a look at the Clone Wars conflict, and with that, many revelations about the Jedi Order. It was revealed several months back that Yoda always suspected something about the Clone Army and the Clone Troopers, and that Yoda essentially had been granted visions of Order 66 years before it ever occurred, at the beginning of the Clone Wars, and that the Force itself was attempting to warn Yoda that they would slaughter the Jedi eventually. In the new canon comic book, Tales of the Light and the Dark, various authors are allowed to reinterpret episodes of the Clone Wars, and recently an episode was reinterpreted where Yoda went along on a mission with 3 clones, one of the first episodes of the entire series, with the episode known as Ambush. Here though, in the reinterpretation of the episode, we learn far more about Yoda and his relationship with the clone. The story of the episode is that each clone is different than the other, but Yoda still senses something dark about them, something that isn't readily apparent in the episode itself. We get a look into exactly how the canon version of Yoda sees the clone troopers, and ultimately, he takes pity on a lot of them. He realizes that the clones are people and individuals, something that is illustrated in the episode, when he talks about how every one of the clones is different, a lesson that he's trying to teach them. We learn in the comic book that Yoda takes this lesson so personally because he sees the clones being treated like droids, and millions upon millions of expendable soldiers created for the sole purpose of war and to eventually be killed. And Yoda wants the clone troopers to know that this is not what he thinks of them. Along with this though, Yoda is granted a vision of the Force about the clone. He sees that all of the clones are treated like droids with programming, an idea that disturbs and chills Yoda to his core. Made for war, these children were. Made by the millions, disposable their makers consider them. What made Yoda even more fearful of the idea of the clones being more droid-like was the fact that they were so receptive to this. They were open to being treated like droids, and they operated more like droids than living beings, something that Dave Filoni would later talk about in the season 7 finale of the Clone Wars. The fact that now the clones, once Order 66 has been enacted and the chits activated, that the clones operate far more like droids than living sentient beings. They've now become slaves to their very programming, something that Yoda identified in them years before Order 66 was officially commenced. Again, it was for this reason that Yoda wanted to meditate within the Force, and when he did so, he was granted a vision. A terrible, terrible vision and revelation. Yoda sensed, quote, another presence, one that felt like a vast storm in the Force, full of malice and greed. Through the Force, Yoda could actually sense the original intention and creation of the clone troopers, that one day they would be used against the Jedi Order. In the end though, Yoda ultimately makes the wrong decision, and decides not to act upon this vision of the future. Even though years later, in season 6 of the Clone Wars, Yoda would be granted yet another vision of Order 66 and the fall of the Jedi. And Yoda should have known the correlation between the clones and this dark entity and Force spirit that he sensed. This entity, of course, being the plan of the clones, the plan enacted by Palpatine. The reason the comic book says that Yoda did not follow this prompting was because of the various teachings he had taught young Jedi over his centuries as a Jedi Master, believing that visions of the future were evil and destructive. The same guidance that he gave to Anakin Skywalker, sensing that visions of the future were dangerous, and that a Jedi should do their best to put them behind them and not focus on the future. Even though Yoda for a moment thought that he would act upon this vision that the Force granted him, and the malevolent presence that he sensed behind the clone troopers, he ultimately decides not to, choosing to accept the same wisdom that he imparted among all of the Padawans. This is the moment that Palpatine truly wins, the moment where the Jedi fully accept the clones, and the moment where Order 66 will be allowed to grow and eventually be enacted and the Jedi Purge begin. The fall of the Jedi Order is a direct result of the decisions of Grandmaster Yoda. There is an argument to be made that Yoda did sense the coming of Luke Skywalker, and it was because of this that he decided not to act against the clone, because at the end of the road, although all of the Jedi were going to be eliminated, the Sith were seemingly going to be eliminated as well, which is the explanation given to us in season 6 of the Clone Wars. This idea that Yoda always knew that the Jedi would fall eventually, eventually, but that also eventually so would the Sith, with the Jedi being allowed to rise again, but the Sith being destroyed. Anyway, my friends, I would love to hear your thoughts on this comic book and this idea of adding more to Clone Wars episodes. How do you feel of the fact that at the beginning of the Clone Wars, Yoda sensed the beginnings of Order 66? Has he witnessed the clone troopers be more droid-like than any living sentient being? I would love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments down below. And do you believe that Yoda could have prevented the fall of the Jedi in Order 66? And is Yoda the sole Jedi responsible for it? Again, guys, just a reminder, there is a big sale going on the Star Wars merch page right before The Mandalorian releases, and right before a whole bunch of new designs are launched. So right now, you can get a t-shirt or a hoodie as low as $15, and other designs up to 70% off, the biggest sale we've ever had. Again, because Star Wars is very much in the off-season right now, so if you like any of the designs that you see here and want to pick one up, from The Mandalorian to Darth Vader, be sure to check it out. It's the top link in the description down below. As always, my friends, thank you so much for watching and your continued support on the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with everything Star Wars related. May the Force be with you, and have a phenomenal day.